Welcome, everybody, to Dead Talk Live. And tonight we have writer director Neil McCay and star Peggy Schott with us. They are in the upcoming movie Trip, that is coming out May 13th on the Terror Films channel, and then Y Digital release a week later, May 20th. Neil, Peggy, welcome. How are you guys doing today?
Hello, very good.
Hello, thanks for having us.
Oh, it is my pleasure. So the
Mm.
movie, Trip, love the title, short, sweet, and to the point. Neil, when this movie deals uh, with altering realities, we don't know, as we're watching the film, we don't know what's real, what is of the paranormal. So when it came time to direct, did you have a clear vision on how you were going to direct this movie? Or did you somewhat have a vision and let things play out when you got on the set?
A little bit of both. I knew from the get-go it was going to be a contained movie because it's all in one location,
Hmm.
my house actually. We did that mainly for budgetary reasons, but also wanted to create kind of a very claustrophobic feel. The mother, the lead character, is a recluse, so she's kind of very scared of the outside, and we wanted to keep it, contained and like I said, claustrophobic. And then we were kind of playing around with some style things, and it's Texas, Austin, Texas, in the middle of the summer. So we made it look very like hot and oppressive and sweaty and yellow, and to kind of give to that feel as the movie's like progressing, and she's kind of losing her mind and or engaged with the drugs and that kind of thing. So
Yes, it's a woman. I mean, the family, we're not going to give any spoilers away, but the family suffers a great tragedy that leads to her becoming a recluse and so on. Now, Peggy, when you got this script and you were reading through Neil's work on the script, and you saw that your character, which is Jan Rollins, uh, is going to be doing, you play psychologist, okay?
Correct.
And we meet you making a house call, which is very unusual. So, as an actress, when you see this and you're like, well, how am I going to justify and how am I going to portray a psychologist making a house call? What kind of mindset did you go into?
Well, just I've actually played different kind of psychologists and psychiatrists before, medical professionals. So the location didn't seem to make that big of a difference with it. It was just making the connection with the character that I'm speaking with. Um, but I when I first read the script, and I was very interested in it because without giving anything away, there's a lot of
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of interesting things that my character goes through, a lot of changes, which as an actress, that's fun to get to do.
And when Neil just said about the contained environment and the whole claustrophobic effect, did you feel that when you were on set, what he was going for, and did it come out in your performance?
Oh, I think so. Yes, because I I don't think I've ever done a whole, well, an entire feature for sure. But even a short film, it's hard to find anything where you pretty much have just one location and a few actors. So it gave us an opportunity to really get to work together. I know Akasha Villalobos, who plays the mom, and Major Dodge, who plays the dad. And so it was wonderful to get to work with them. But yes, with everybody being in that little confined space with all the crew and everyone, it you
It
tend to
was
get on top of each other,
it was
but there's
challenging.
always an opportunity to sneak off into another room and have a little bit of quiet time, which definitely was needed for some of the mindset to get into what was happening.
Absolutely. Now, Neil, like Peggy just mentioned, you got Akasha, you got Major Dodge. You put together a great cast. Akasha and Peggy were brilliant. The chemistry they had together was, you could really feel it. Was the casting process difficult? Was it easy? Uh, what made you decide on Peggy and Akasha to play the two leading roles in this film?
Yeah, actually, so funny enough, Peggy's character was the last one cast, and I did have a hard time until I found her, of course, finding somebody to play that role. So once I had her, then it was like, all right, and it's a small cast too, so there's really only I'd say 5 or 6 speaking parts in the entire thing. And Peggy's part was huge. So that was a big relief once I got her in. And Akasha was the first one because I had actually just moved to Austin, Texas, 2017, and I was kind of just looking up people on YouTube, like somebody that could maybe play this role, and I just happened to find her reel on like YouTube somewhere. And it was a shot in the dark. I just emailed her and I said, "Hey, are you interested in this?" And then we kind of had a little bit back and forth. She was kind of had some reservations on it at first, but eventually came on board. So she was kind of like the first one. And then we finally got Peggy and I was like, all right, good, I'm set. Like, all taken care of.
Now, Peggy, you and Akasha had some great banter between the two of you throughout the film. Did you guys, when the cameras were not rolling, did you have talks, discussions, spend time with each other to get that chemistry right?
Oh yes, and actually, I've known Akasha for many years. We've worked together on some other projects, and also her husband is an actor, and I've worked with him too. But she is just a wonderful actress to work with. So, and a wonderful person. So yeah. But when not on set, being able to talk together, and then, as I said, also having the opportunity to just step away. I'll say that Akasha, every once in a while, she'll just say, "I'm going into the closet," and she would go in the closet just to, get her head around what was coming up. So,
did Neil allow you guys, since you have worked together and you've known each other, liberties to sort of play out, the scenes with the banter back and forth and so on?
Well, we stuck with the script as it was written because it's written very well. The only time that I had a difficult time was when one day he told me that he wanted to film a scene that we were supposed to be filming several days later. So I wasn't ready for it. And it was the one that I think had the biggest chunk of dialogue of things for me to say. And I was like, yeah, sure, I can do that. Give me a few minutes. And I went to a quiet space upstairs and just went through it and came downstairs. And like I said, when you have a good scene partner to working with Akasha, it just really, you could feel it and it came together and we were able to get it.
Absolutely. So Neil, you did write this script. It was very well written.
Thank you.
Looking at your IMDb credits, it looks like you took a break from like 2012 to this script. So when you got down, what was your inspiration for writing this film?
Well, actually, and Peggy, sorry, I changed the day for you.
it's not the first time that has happened.
It's indie movie making, so every day the schedule is different, and then you end up shifting things around. It's just it's kind of insane. But so I kind of had some family stuff going on back in 2000. I used to live in LA in 2008, 2009, and then I came back and I was dealing with some family stuff. So that's why there was this kind of lull in me working on projects. And I think I got to a point right around there in 2012 to 2016, 17-ish, where, I was just like, I guess I'm just not doing this. And then I had a good friend who lives in Los Angeles, David Grubbs. He's actually a producer on this movie, kind of convinced me to kind of come out of retirement, if you will. And he's like, "Hey, you got to get back on the horse and do another movie," because he was doing a movie, and he kind of inspired me to get off my butt and kind of do another project. So that's kind of, and then that started in kind of 2016, 2017. So that's kind of how, and then we finally filmed it in 2019. So that was kind of the lull and then the get back into it kind of thing.
Gotcha. So the inspiration for the film, now you got back to writing, the element, this is a demon, spirit, paranormal type film. That's not much of a spoiler there. It's sort of in the synopsis. Mm-hmm. What led you to lay out this story the way it was laid out?
So I was intrigued by, I kind of feel like, that expression, right? What you know. And if something, I don't know, you're dealing with something or something is personal to you, kind of take that and run with it. Mm-hmm. And I was intrigued by the idea of what if this woman has lost somebody and what is she dealing with and this kind of thing. And it just kind of dawned on me, what if depression is the villain? What if that's the monster and it's kind of, this supernatural thing that comes out and everything, but it's really if you just pull away all that, supernatural stuff. I mean, it's depression. It's like,
Yeah.
that's what's getting at her. And it's this illogical force that makes you, it tells you things that aren't true. It lies to you. It deceives you. It's an hallucination, really. And that's kind of the whole thing that she's struggling with, is just this fighting this depression, which is a monster,
Yeah.
a spirit in the movie. So
Did you sort of play around with, what would lead her to that point till you ultimately decided to go with what you went with?
So, like, how do you mean? Like,
In regards to Samantha, the daughter.
Oh yeah, I think I always kind of knew it was going to be a death. Like,
Okay.
that would be the catalyst to kind of kick things off.
Okay.
And dealing with like depression and grief, specifically with loss of a family member.
Okay. Got it.
I didn't know it was going to be so brutal with like a suicide the way it was and everything like that. But yeah, I wanted it to be that more than just, I don't know, some other reason that would cause depression.
That totally makes sense. Now, Peggy, you are no stranger. You have done some great work throughout
Thank
the
you.
years. You have been in some big titles. So where does Trip, in regards, I know you've worked on big budget sets like Fear the Walking Dead. You've done, obviously you've done independent filmmaking. Does independent filmmaking have a special place in your heart that you definitely love doing, as opposed to studio films or television, that everything has to go through a bunch of committees before anything gets finalized?
Right. I independent film definitely has a place in my heart. That's where I started. It's really big in Austin, and that's what I started in. Yeah. And I find that with independent film, yes, you do have more opportunities to really work with the writers and the directors than you do on the big things. I've had small roles in big things, and then bigger roles in small things. And just as an actor, you just want to have opportunities to play a wide variety of characters, and I've enjoyed doing that. In looking back, a lot of the independent things are horror films. And one of the first ones I did, you had interviewed Aaron Kuntz not long ago.
The Pale Door.
The Pale Door. And years ago, I did a short film with him that actually, although they are in the horror genre, pretty much specifically, when we did this short film, it really wasn't a horror. But it was one of the first time that I worked with them. And I love that ever since then, every once in a while, they'll just call me up and say, "Hey, Peggy, we're making another film. We want to kill you. Can you please come?" and I'll show up. So yeah, they killed me in The Pale Door and now I'm thinking of their anthology that they did. Yeah, so
I mean,
it's fun to just get to play and to get to know these filmmakers and have them call you up and ask you to come back again.
I mean, it must be great. You get to play witches, you get to be in zombie shows, you get to be in paranormal shows. I mean, what more can you possibly ask for? Now, Neil, like we said, Akasha was brilliant in this film. Did you have a very specific vision for Akasha's character? And when she read the script, did she really pick it up right away? Did you two have to have prolonged discussions on what your vision was for her character?
No, that actually took a little bit of work, and what ended up happening was that we just started like texting each other back and forth. Where she would just start asking questions about, okay, what do you think about this? It's like my history with the daughter and the husband, and I was like, okay, that's cool, but and then we would kind of play that back and forth, and I think the more she was able to like get some background info and like create her own story of this character, the easier it was for her. But she was saying I was one of the reservations she had early on taking the roles, because she's like, I don't feel like I can connect with being a recluse or an alcoholic or someone who's depressed. Like, that's just not me. So she was kind of like, I don't know about this. And then I think she somehow found something in that part where she was like, oh no, I can connect with this. And then once she had that, it was pretty seamless. I thought I knew she would pull it off. But yeah, she had a lot of like, let me figure out who this character is. And then it was kind of, it just went, it just worked out.
Okay. Yep. I mean, definitely worked out. She was absolutely brilliant. And Peggy, your character again. We're not going to give away any spoilers, but you go through somewhat of reveal as the movie goes on. And like I said earlier in the show, there's a lot of parts in this movie where we don't know what's real and what's not real. Is this person who they say they are? Are they not? So, did you have fun with that? Especially when it came to your character as the good old house call psychologist. When it came time for the big reveal and all that other good stuff, did you internally just have some fun in playing the role?
Absolutely. Yeah. That is a lot of fun. Of course, the tricky part is that you don't always film in order. And so, Neil and I would talk about, okay, where are we in her journey and the changes that you're seeing in her character. I remember when my daughter had seen a clip from the film and she looked at it and she says, Mom, didn't they have somebody to do your makeup? And I said, yeah. And she said, it doesn't look good. I'm like, well, it's not supposed to. so, so
It's
all the changes and
actually
working with the special effects people, and yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
that's actually a thing. The makeup, I've gotten many comments on that of how cool that kind of it's this like gradual change.
Uh huh.
And again, I don't want to give too much away, but like
Right,
there's
right.
this kind of so if you see it, the end of it or whatever, you're going to be like, what, that looks weird, but it kind of works like it's a progressive thing. So that yeah, it's funny that you bring that up with the makeup because a
It
lot
is
of people catch
progressive,
on to that.
and it's done a lot, and it's done quite frequently in movies and television. The character, and it's very subtle, and it's up to the audience to notice that the character is progressively changing. But what are they changing into?
Right.
Neil? Did you want to keep the audience on their heels? Sorry, on their toes, and just keep guessing on, like, again, who is she? What is reality? What is fiction? And so on.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things we're playing around with here is all of this real? Is this the drug? Because Allie takes this hallucinogenic drug to commune with her dead daughter, or is she just going crazy? So it's like, which one of these three things is it, or is it a combination thereof? And I don't, again, spoilers and stuff, but I don't think like Peggy's character, the moment she's introduced, I think people are gonna be like, okay, what's going on here? And then it's kind of a back and forth, like, okay, is she for real, or is this like, what are her motivations? So, and then of course at the end, like what's really going on. But I
Exactly.
was intrigued by that of like, okay, is she good or bad, or what's going on? And like, do I trust her? And okay, I do trust her, but not really. You know what I mean? Like, so,
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Peggy, I want to ask you a question. I could ask this to Neil, but I want to ask you this question because
Mhm.
you're the one who was acting this out. We find out Neil just mentioned hallucinogenic, okay? But we find out that it's not really a hallucinogenic. When you do your characters, any character, and you sort of fill in your character's motives for doing certain things in your roles, when it came to that drink, the drink that you give Akasha, and we find out as the movie goes on what it really is, uh, what story did you tell yourself? Why would Jan give this to her to start the sequence of events to unfold? Or did you just really not think about it at all?
No, because it is what sparks the whole rest of what's going to be happening, to give it to her. But it's giving her hope. As Neil was talking about the fact that the real demon is depression,
Mm-hmm.
and in depression, within your own mind, you're telling yourself things that aren't real, and it's a struggle. But then there are times when you're more lucid and trying to be positive and trying to find hope. And I think that with this hallucinogenic drug, it's something that gives her some kind of hope
Okay.
in her struggles. So
Absolutely. Neil, was it important for you, the way the story played out, for it to not be a hallucinogenic and possibly be something else? Or why not just write it out for it to just have there be a certain chemical in there when the results come out to make her think that, this could be all a trick in my mind and so on?
Yeah, I think it was really just kind of, for lack of a better excuse, just I thought it would be a cool hook to kind of be like, oh yeah, it's just a ruse. The hallucinogenic is just, it's like, it's part of the story, but it's not what this thing is really about. And in a way, her realization of that is like, if things are weird, things are happening, and you're on a drug, it makes it like safer, or like as you can explain it. But if there's nothing at all, and this stuff is just happening, then you really are like, okay, then this is real and it's scary, or I'm losing my mind.
Okay.
And that's even scarier.
It is. It is.
But yeah, there was no particular reason. I just thought it would be kind of a cool little twist. But I always knew that it was always going to be this spirit.
Yeah.
And that was going to be real,
Now, Peggy's character, Jan, tells the story of, the way her character recounts it. It's a story she heard a while ago in Africa about this shape-shifting spirit that can mimic loved ones and feeds on their fear, anxieties, and gets stronger and stronger. Did that inspiration come from a similar story that you've heard, or did you just completely make it up out of your own imagination?
Me, or how she would tell it?
Well, the story of the shape-shifting demon that
Ubuso.
Yeah. Oh no, I just made that up. That's not. Well, it's so Ubuso is a real word, and it's I'm forgetting, not Swahili. What language did I use? Zulu. Okay. That's a real word. It actually does mean face or faces, and that's part of the story. But I just thought it was like, I don't know, yeah, she could be a missionary, like out in some country, but it sounds more believable in like an African country than if I said like Germany, because people would be like, no, that doesn't make. But you would never know. I don't know, Zulu language, Buso. I guess that makes sense, But so I try to kind of make it sound realistic or reasonable enough, but yeah, it was just kind of made up.
What'd you think of the story, Peggy? And when you were, that scene where you're telling it to Akasha, that's where you, as an actress, have to bring in the scare element, okay? That's where, you get paid the big bucks for, right? to get us all scared, and it works, the way you recount the story of the shape-shifting. So when you're telling us, on screen, a scary story like that, is there what kind of mode do you get into as an actor?
I just try to picture it and imagine that the story I'm telling is a real thing, and just try to convey it that way.
It definitely works. I was like all ears and, just fascinated to hear this story. And when you're telling the story, this is like somewhere in Act 2. We really don't know what's going on yet. So it definitely hooks us as the audience right in. I want to thank both of you for coming on here. These 25 minutes have flown by. Again, guys, the movie is called Trip. It is coming out May 13th. Neil, correct me if I'm wrong. It's coming out to the Terror Films AVOD streaming platform. And then a week later, it's coming out wide to all the, where people can rent and buy it at their platform of choice. Is that accurate?
That's accurate. Yeah, we don't have the specifics of the platforms. I'm pretty sure Amazon, Tubi, Google Play, Apple TV, like it's going to be a wide variety, but we just don't know exactly when it hits. But all of that is on terrorfilms.net. They have a splash page for us, so it'll have all the links. You can go directly from there to your platform of choice.
Neil, just one final question. When you started penning this script, it's very difficult to make movies, obviously, and the most difficult part is financing. Did you have everything in place when you started writing it, or did you write it and then pitch it around till you got, people interested enough to invest in it?
I had mostly it kind of figured out of like how that was all going to work.
Okay.
Like well before, so it was like I was writing it when I kind of had, okay, I think this is what I'm going to do, and then I had to kind of tailor the writing. Like, well, you only have so much money, so that's why certain things are kind of like again contained in a house and minimalistic. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I kind of had the game plan of the financing sorted out before.
Awesome. That's great. Congratulations to both of you
Thank you.
guys. I'm sure you're
Thank
very
you.
excited for the premiere date. Peggy, you're great. Neil, thank you so much for coming on here.
Thanks for having
Great,
us.
great
Yeah.
story, great movie. Please, guys, watch it. The movie is called Trip, coming out May 13th and will be available wide May 20th. Thank you to our guest, writer director Neil McCay, actress Peggy Schott. Till next time, on behalf of our guests and me, stay safe, guys, and stay walking. Good night.
Good night.